Hello and welcome back to my channel. As you see, I've now got an intro and an outro, which you'll see later. If you're wondering why the two videos after the Gotham Knights gameplay one don't have an intro, it's because I uploaded them before I made the intro. So I'm bringing you a series that I hope to be fairly regular. And that is Mayhems Musings, which would basically be, since I'm not really educated in film, and I decided I'd sort of hybridize a review, ramble, discussion kind of video into one thing. Today's topic is Barbarian, the 2022 horror film that has just come out here in theatres, but I believe it has been out in America for quite a while in theatres. So, yeah, I've got some notes, so I'll cut back and forth between that and we'll see. So, me and my friend, well, I say this to my friend, Callum, called it Barbarian Ian, and I pissed myself laughing when he sent me that. Because when we went to see it, we're like, oh, we're going to see our old mates Barbarian Ian. So, yeah, to start off with, absolutely gorgeously shot. There's so much creativity in where the camera is placed. I'm going to do this a spoiler thing, because I've already, as I said, I've seen it. So, I should have done this earlier because I'm having a bit of an issue remembering, so that's why I've written down some notes. So, but yes, full spoilers, blah blah blah. It is beautifully shot. I really hope this gets a 4K because I have a feeling it will look great. Although physical media is up in the air at the moment, but we'll see. But to start off with, as I said, it's beautifully shot, especially the shot you get when you're in the back seat of the killer's car and you're just driving through town and parking. Absolutely amazing. And speaking of those flashback scenes, I think they show just the right amount, because they show him going to the shop picking up the video that you see playing on the TV. The film plays on you thinking, oh, we're going to see him abduct and murder this girl. But what I love about it is that it follows him. It shows him going into the house as the water maintenance guy, unlocking the window and just leaving, and that's all it shows you. And I love how it implies more than it shows in that sense. And then obviously I think it cuts just at the right moment when he's coming back in the house. You see him walking down the hallway. He opens the door, steps through the doorway, and then it just cuts back to current events. I think that is an incredible way to do a flashback, and it's just the implication, the old thing where your brain can make up so much more scary shit than they can show you most of the time, and that works to its credit beautifully in this segment. Speaking of the killer, I also love that, by the way, this is not going to be in any order, it's just going to be what I want to talk about. So another thing I love about this is when Tess has finally escaped the house by smashing that window and getting out, and the homeless guy pulls her out, and then they're talking, and then he's just like, that's not the worst thing down there. And I was like, wait, is there something worse, like another monster? But it took me until after the film to realize what he meant was the killer, the abductor, and the various other things I won't say because, I don't want this video to get restricted. But it's just so horrifying. It's a quote that stuck with me. It's not always like the creature that's the worst thing. It's like what he's done, especially when Justin Long finds that room where he's dying in and he sees all the tapes on the shelf. The way this film implies what's happened is horrifying, but it's done so well. When I say I like it, I don't mean I like the subject matters and like that. I mean, like, I like the way it's portrayed and it's shown to the effect of the horror in the film. But it's just how all the tapes are, there's no names. It's just, I think one of them was Puker, wouldn't stop screaming, and it's just horrible. And then obviously he puts the tape in and then it cuts away and it cuts back to like the last second of the tape and all you hear is screaming, and you just see Justin Long's face just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He just turns around and he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And it's horrifying. Speaking of Justin Long, I think he is hilarious in this film. The way that the film uses its comedy in its second act and its clear 3-act structure, which I also think is quite unique and is done quite well in this, it's so funny because obviously he needs the money for legal defense for his whole, slander, but is it slander? I don't think it is. Case, and he's gone to one of his rented apartments to see how much it's worth, and he finds the door open, and then he's like, oh. And the first thing he does after looking around, like after seeing like that hallway, he goes upstairs to his office, like, is the house worth more money if there's more space, if there's stuff that isn't on the blueprints? And I just think it's so funny in terms of like, that's your first priority. What the fuck, dude? And how like it just cuts to him measuring the hallway, and then him inside that room with the camera in the bed, just measuring it out, and then he sits on the bed and she's like, oh, disgusting. It's like, what? You've just now noticed this. Does this setup not look dodgy to you? And it is played so well. It is so good. And then like he backs all the way up to the end of the hallway, and then he's just like, oh, there's more. And then as soon as it opens the door to the staircase that you've seen has got bad shit down it, he's like, fuck. Instantly cuts to him tape measuring all the way down the stairs. It is amazing. It is so good. I love that. He is brilliant in this film. Just fantastic. Speaking of those tunnels, I also love in this film how when they're down in the pitch black, there's no artificial lighting. All the lighting that you see is things that characters have in camera, so the torches, the phone torches, and I just love that because it just adds this, it just makes it more real, it immerses you more, and it's very The Descent-esque. That's another film that I think does lighting just horrifically beautifully. Like, it's so good. When they're running and all you see is the light flashing and then looking back, and then, oh, it's absolutely fantastic shit. The creature, although obviously it's not a creature, it's the product of multiple... Well, if you've seen it, you know, I'm not going to say it, but you can kind of understand where it's coming from once you get all the facts by the end. And it's kind of... It's horrifying to think about that, like, all she's ever been subjected to is that video of the mother and the child. And when you think about how she treats Tess and Justin Long's character when he first discovers Tess, and it's just like the milk bottle, you're like, so obviously her first instinct would be, oh, this is other people, I have to look after them. And it's so horrific, like, especially by the end when you see her, like, and Tess has been shot, and she's trying to pick her up, and she doesn't want to hurt her. It's horrifying that she's been put through that, and it kind of makes it sympathetic in a way to her, because obviously she's had, like, she didn't choose this life or anything, and it's really horrific when you start to think about it after you've gotten all the information by the end. Another brilliant shot in this film is at the start when Tess is trying to get hold of the person she booked the Airbnb through, and it's just her on the porch, and it just pans across the neighborhood, but it's pitch black, you can't see anything. And then the next morning when she wakes up and she goes out for that job interview, it does the same shot again, and you see what was behind that darkness, and the whole neighborhood, apart from this one unusually well-kept house, is just trashed. And that gave me goosebumps in the theater. It was so well done. I loved that shot so much. Continuing on with the tunnels, the shot where Justin Long is running from the creature, and he's backed up against the door that obviously at the time we know it's a door, but he can't see it because he's obviously focusing on the creature, and he's just pointing the gun down the hallway, and the camera focuses on the dark, and you see her come forward. You can just make her out, but then as soon as she realizes where he is, she just creeps back into the darkness, and that's something that's scary, because if she's scared of where he is, what the fuck is behind, like, what the fuck is there? And it's just, that is so well done. And then, again, the makeup effects on the creature, the girl, whatever you want to call it, you know, it's, that again is so well done. It just looks so horrific without looking goofy, in my opinion, and it's just fantastic makeup effects. One thing I was shocked by is from the trailers and that, I always had the inkling that Bill Skarsgård's character was going to have something to do with it. But then when you see him at the end of the first act just get his head bashed in, you're like, oh, oh, so he had nothing to do with it. He just gets killed off, and I was very surprised because of the star power of him in terms of like obviously It and It Chapter 2. I thought, oh, that's a ballsy move to kill him off so early, but absolutely brilliant. And the score also is minimal, but when it is used, I find it to be extremely effective for what they were going for. When Tess, like, when she sees the hole and she's like, nope, and it cuts her sitting on the stairs, and then like the second she thinks she sees something, the second she puts the foot through the doorway and the score kicks in, oh, absolutely brilliant. Overall, absolutely love this film. The more I think about it, the more I love it. And I'm really hoping, like I said before, it gets a home video release, because obviously with Disney and that, it's up in the air. But I think a producer said that it will get a physical release at some point. And I'd love it in 4K, but I'll take a Blu-ray. Absolutely fantastic. I think I rated it a 4 out of 5. No, a 4.5 out of 5. Excuse me. But yeah, this has been my Mayhems musings on Barbarian. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. What did you like? What did you dislike? Is there any other films you'd like me to watch and talk about? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a like, drop a comment. I'll answer all comments. And subscribe. Subscribing is the best way to support me, and you'll get my videos in your notification box. Hopefully, as long as YouTube's being nice. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.